Hi. I use she, they pronouns, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. I just want to make sure we get that right. And make sure we're getting that representation correct. So, let me do the thing. Now you can see my facial expressions, so you know. I've had people tell me like they're like, I need to see your face because I don't know what you're reacting like. So I always try to
Oh
turn that
God.
on for y'all.
I turn on my video cam, but I do in real life activism, so it's a safety thing.
Hey, no worries, no worries. We've had a lot of people come on that either don't use their cameras or they're VTubers. As a matter of fact, for the first time yesterday, I saw Six Samurai, and he's been on StonerCast like 3 or 4 times now. And he finally turned his camera on the other day, yesterday. So,
That's pretty
uh,
cool.
yeah, yeah. But that's all right. You know, we have that, and I know there's a couple other streamers that I talk to and stream with that also, they don't use their cameras or they're VTubers. So both are cool with me. I think it's rad. That said, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. I just got done writing the next session and what's going to happen for our Dungeons and Dragons game. A few people have indeed confused me with my partner Dragon Foxing, but no, you're definitely different people.
Okay, okay. I was just going off your Twitter account. That's why. So
Yeah.
apologies for that. So tell me a little bit about what kind of your aesthetic is, what it is you're doing on Twitch, like kind of what the content you're putting out is, and where people can find you.
Well, currently I am Flora of Fauna on Twitter, and the stuff that I put out on Twitter is obviously different than the things that I put in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am gonna be absolutely real with you. The first time I've ever said this in public. In an ideal world, I would be an anarchist, but I currently see that the material conditions do not align with that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm usually effectively a social democrat until like the anarchist the bus reaches the anarchist stop, if you know what I mean.
Hell yeah, yeah. Sometimes you gotta take those incremental steps to make the big moves, and that's what I've said. Like I'm never gonna knock any incremental step towards my ultimate goal, which yeah, I'm kind of like I guess like an anarcho-socialist, maybe like a libertarian socialist, somewhere in that realm. Um,
Yeah.
so so I know
So
that. Go ahead.
socialism actually seems really interesting to me. Honestly, I'm a bit of a I'm a bit politically homeless usually. I don't entirely. I have a lot of disagreement with most of the movements. I would really side with the progressive movement, but I feel like I worry that sometimes their messaging is a bit anti-voting or not harsh enough against Republicans.
I would agree with that. I think there are some people that call themselves like on the far left. I like the person that comes up to me most commonly is like Jimmy Dore, who I think actually does a disservice to people on the left, because
Absolutely.
he aligns so closely with the right and talks so much to the right and spends so much time bashing Democrats that it makes Republicans just look good. And as far as I'm concerned, I haven't found a Republican yet that I agree with. So
Um, some of my friends are Republicans, mostly because I live in a very deeply Republican district. A lot of them I can sometimes agree with, but overall not. I
mhm.
think that part of the reason why I'm able to get along with them, though, is oh, so I should probably um, mention this bit. Uh, so I am a psych student. I say specifically that because if I said I was anything else, I might be liable for any advice that I give,
Sure.
which is also partially why I only try to link when I'm talking about. I try to like alternate on my Twitter between life advice and linking experts' opinions on things like anxiety and relationships.
Hmm.
Um, I worry that in politics we don't focus on like actually building a life or building healthy relationships, which is have you ever heard of like the phrase activists have like a 3-year shelf life?
I haven't heard that.
So if you're really into in real life activism, one of the problems is that activists tend to have what's called a 3-year shelf life, where you should not expect that a person's going to be able to participate in activism for over 3 years. The attacks from like within your own in-group or from your out-group get too insane, or like say that you're a pro-abortion activist and you're at one of the clinics trying to make sure that people can get in safely with their identity hidden. People are going to try to dox you, and like eventually that wears on most people. So most forms of activism, it's very unlikely that people are going to stay around for 3 years. And I want to kind of change that. So part of my activism has been about mental health. I also try to engage in de-radicalizing people. I also try to teach about plural topics, because I am a plural, and
Okay.
well, a plural system, and I tend to be our main representative, the one who's like, say, the face of the group. Everyone tends to have like different skill sets.
Got it. So, you mentioned that you're part of a system. So that my audience understands, I get an understanding of what that means, but so the audience can understand, can you explain that a little bit for us?
Okay, so it's kind of controversial that all plurality stems from dissociative identity disorder, but basically, plurality is all about. It means that you're not quite one person. There are different types of system. Sometimes the host is not even entirely split into another. Sometimes the alters are completely independent of the host, and other such things. My particular system has about 14 of us who are fairly distinct from one another. Although we try to not play the to downplay that on Twitter, because people aren't. It makes it harder to talk to people when they're not willing to like engage with you on that.
Sure, sure. I've known other people that were hosts to systems, not with 14. I think they had like 8. But I'm familiar with that on a very basic scale. But bottom line is just treat people like they're human, and learn to get along. Like that shouldn't be a hard thing. I'm sorry that you've had to struggle with that. That sucks.
It sucks, but honestly, one thing I'm starting to realize is that like some of the people have been most toxic to me about my own plurality. Like I've followed up on them, and they're just such miserable people. Uh, like this is gonna sound like pure cope to some people, but in reality, I think that how to put this. I think that all of the people who would be bigoted against you for being plural, trans, autistic, etc., probably like aren't great people. Like they're very like if someone is very certain that you have a mental illness when you haven't necessarily even like talked about it, or like if people just jump to, oh, you must be mentally ill or something like that, like
Hmm.
it's just a certain type of person that does that, you know?
Yeah, I mean usually have their own insecurities, I would imagine, which are problematic.
Yeah.
So they're going through their own shit, and like by virtue of that, they're deflecting to others because they don't know how to deal with what's going on in their own life, and that's pretty common. It's unfortunate because we see that a lot, right? Especially in online spaces, it seems like that's a really prominent thing that occurs. I think it's easier for people to be a little bit more grating and harsh with people when they don't have to actually confront their humanity and see them face to face. That's been my experience.
Yeah. So on the subject of the D&D game, so my players don't entirely know this, but they have an inkling of like what makes the story compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it makes the story compelling. The one that I'm trying to write isn't even necessarily the setting, but rather the material conditions of the setting. And more so, the way that each character interacts with them. Currently, there's a character called Seema who the party just met, and she has been an incredibly wild ride. um, she was responsible in kidnapping who is basically the heart and the soul, like the core that binds the party together, um, and just left them wondering what happened. But then she has this conversation with that exact person before. Um, but then she has this conversation with that person, and she's like, "Well, in reality, kidnapping you is kind of a byproduct of what we were trying to do. You got in the middle of things, and it just didn't work out well. Um, Currently, but then she ends up fighting the party, and she's like, it really would be a shame if this character, if this person that you're trying to protect actually ended up dying. You really should fight for her." And then that was a huge battle with the party. And most of the party members also don't know the thing that she whispered into one of their ears um, before disappearing. And in general, one of the things that I want to teach is that you shouldn't make quick assumptions about who you're around. Currently, they're in a situation, so this is like part two. So
Okay.
the I ran a complete campaign, and they're in the world, like seeing the after effects like 100 years later, and trying to figure out what happened between the end point that they know and like where they're at.
Wow.
And like everyone that used to be a friend to them and that was like a hero or a savior to like the groups, like all the NPCs they used to be friendly with, are like often some degree of hostile towards them or like very ambivalent. Um, and it's an interesting look into the way that an incredibly friendly and well-meaning character can still do like evil things, or how good intentions lead one astray, how bad intentions can lead to one's redemption. Shockingly enough,
In some
it's
cases, it
supposed
can.
to,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So it's supposed to make the party, like one of my goals is to challenge them to think about like what puts someone beyond redemption. Are there things that go so far that one cannot be redeemed? Like, surely there are, but like, where would we draw that particular line at? Um, these are like, it's a good way that I think to get them to ask some philosophical questions, and also I like to make the characters very memorable and fun to play along with.
That is really cool. Like you're taking it to a whole different level that actually involves people having to really do some, uh, like some critical thinking and critical thought process. And it seems like you can see a lot of parallels in life. In that story, and that's really intriguing. And now I myself, I haven't played D&D since I was like, I don't know, 8 years old. So I am so lost on that stuff now. But I do know it's a pretty popular thing. There's a lot of streamers I talk to that have their D&D nights, and they're really into it. So this is something that you stream as well, right?
She streams it currently. I do not have a
Okay,
stream-worthy setup. When I
gotcha.
am streaming, one of the things I want to do is talk politics. I want to talk about like what's actually happening with a very low amount of bias towards one side or the other. Because um, I feel that most news we're getting today is kind of skewed, and I just want people to be more critical of either news sources, media, etc. And I'm hoping that at, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that it's like a de-radicalizing thing, because like as much as I want more progressives, and I absolutely like want that progressive world,
Hmm.
Um, the absolute hate that the movement can foster towards things like voting or even getting out and doing action really concerns me.
Yeah, that's something that the apathy and antipathy that I see sometimes with some of the folks on the left, it is concerning because it's almost like, dude, did you just give up? Like, don't give up. Like, you got to keep. There's more work to be done. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that where people are just kind of like, they get to a point where that antipathy and that kind of like need or desire to just be a little bit passive about things because they just toss their hands up and they're like, well, it's never going to change. It's just always going to be like this. And it's like, well, it doesn't have to be. But you also have to be willing to accept incremental change as well as big change. Sometimes you can't get everything you want. You have a whole ass society and you're trying to get everybody to align with the same thing. They're not all going to align with the same thing. So you have to find, take the wins that you can get. Don't shit on your wins. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay if you don't get the whole package. Get as much as you can and then incrementally move forward. And that's, I think, also when you're making the moves to make those compromises with people that may not be as far, like, let's say we're talking about me, for example, to the left. you know Me making compromises with those people that aren't as far to the left as me really lets them know that I am willing to work with them, right? And I can pull them in, and then maybe, just maybe, they decide to listen to like what I have to say about some other things, and they come on board with that. But I think you need that. I think you need to build coalitions, right, and build that stuff out, and it's through that, that you're able to make those bigger, broader sweeping changes that you want, if that's what you want.
yeah. I feel like I'm pretty far from actually getting towards a coalition. Currently, what I'm trying to do um, is I will have almost any conversation. I've had conversations with, or I've tried to have a conversation with a person who thought that I support baby murder. That was a bit weird, for sure. Um, Disquieting is a really good word for it. Um, in general, I'll have almost any conversation, but I do kind of appreciate, and one of the things I feel really bad for, um, I the thing that probably makes me least qualified to engage in like activism for a long time, I like the inevitable reason that I'm definitely going to like stop at some point is I tend to like empathize or humanize the other people that I talk to too much, especially when they're not going to ever give me the same.
Right.
So like
Hmm.
I'll be talking to people about these conversations about like so when I say that I'm a trans activist, one of the things I want to talk about with people is what sex, gender, etc. are.
Hmm.
And I tend to have what's called the too cute perspective. Um, it used to be a pejorative against us, but apparently that's been reclaimed.
So what is the too cute perspective? Can you explain that to me?
So you've got two different theories about transness, or like three different, depending on who you ask.
Hmm.
You've got too cute, true scum, and transmed. A lot of people have merged the last two because there's not much of a delineation. So too cute believe that like um, you don't necessarily, or at least at the beginning, it used to mean you don't necessarily need dysphoria to be trans. And science kind of validated that concept, where a lot of people were coming out without strong feelings of dysphoria, but rather just really wanted to be a woman, or really wanted to be a man, or really wanted to be like something somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Transmedicalists believe that you have to be pursuing some kind of medical treatment in order for your transness to be valid. Um, I don't necessarily agree with that point, honestly, even though most of the people I hang out around, because I'm trying to like convince them a little bit, ever so slightly off the point.
Sure.
Um, a lot of them believe that like you have to be pursuing some kind of like medical treatment, and it's like, so like the history of trans people is just absolutely erased right now. Like
Yeah.
all of the people who are all of the trans women in the past who are deliberately trying to pass themselves as women, saw themselves as women, wanted to interact with other people as women. Like you would say that they weren't trans because they're not pursuing medical transition. Like this is the dumb bullet that you would like to bite.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, that sounds ridiculous to me.
It
You know,
does.
like let people be who they want to be, you know, and appreciate them for that.
Yeah,
The sooner we get to a world of acceptance where we stop doing this shit, stop marginalizing people for, you know, their identity, I think the better. I mean, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here on this, but you know, um,
absolutely.
I know that's a
I've gotten
frustrating
in
thing.
I've
I,
gotten in some degree of fire though because I don't tread the too cute line anymore apparently because I don't think that like everything is a gender. I respect most things that used to be non-binary genders, but like I think that some of the things that we're making up just aren't like actually that. I've had to think so much on what gender is because of like a weird hypothetical, honestly, that
yeah,
I really wish would just go away.
right. I feel you on that. You know, I unfortunately, well, fortunately, I guess for me, but unfortunately, in trying to grasp and understand the scope of what others go through, like I don't have to see things through that lens, and sometimes like I think for you know I'm a cis, mostly straight white guy, you know, so like my fucking you know my whole view is really you know narrowed. So like having the opportunity to talk to people like yourself and understand your situation and what you have to go through is like very important to me too because I want to be able to be in the right space with that. You know what I mean? I want to be able to help if I can, and you know I want to make sure that people are being taken care of. So having those conversations, understanding your perspective is really important to me.
Yeah, I've been also trying to I'm gonna be real with you. I hate admitting this. I actually do kind of like the edgy jokes that a lot of us engage in when it comes to like online activism, the TOS jokes, to say the least. But like I mean some of them are kind of funny, but holy shit. They are toxic.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You can jump
Like
down the
I
rabbit hole
straight
pretty dark.
Yeah, I straight up said, I've straight up just said, look, I'm not doing the death threats meme. If I see actual death threats being posted, I'm reporting it. Or I might, if you're a friend, ask you to like not because it's incredibly stupid and cringe, and it does nothing but like make us look stupid.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry. My dogs are barking. Give me. I am so sorry. Give me just a second.
no worries.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Today has been a little bit of a shit show. I appreciate that.
No problem. I have dogs too, so I'm not complaining. They can get a bit rowdy, shall we say.
Well, I have one that didn't used to bark at all, and we moved in here, and for some reason now she barks all the time, and her bark sounds like it sounds like a dog's like crying or something. And I don't know if it's
Yeah.
just because she doesn't usually bark or what, but it's like it's almost blood curdling to me sometimes when I'll be sitting like at home at night and I hear her bark because I'm like, what the hell is wrong with her? Is she okay? You know, and I'll like go out into the living room and she's just like fine, barking at a car driving by or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
But that happens. So, so you are a cannabis user as well?
No, I can't. It's illegal where I live,
Oh,
but
okay.
the place that I'm moving to, it is totally legal. And one of the things I'm really interested in studying is psychedelic experiences.
Oh, right on. So you haven't had any of your own at this point?
Um, I think I've had near psychedelics experiences. I had this point where I was on pain medication because I had a crazy bad ear infection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just it was so weird. I relived this traumatic experience over and over again and had this person who was like talking me through it. And I was just like laying on the bed for like hours going through this experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like eventually I was talking to myself and realized that I realized some of the shit that I was holding on to that I had not realized before. And there was just this moment where like I told myself to just that like this has to go, that like this is not a healthy thing to hold on to. And like I have never faced that trauma before. So like or afterwards. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that was like a borderline psychedelic experience.
Well, I mean, certain pain meds under certain situations, I'm sure definitely can have that effect. I mean, I actually, I can't even take opioids because, oh shit. Hey, thank you very much, Hildebeest, for the raid. Let's go. If y'all ain't following Hildebeest, you should be. I gotta do this thing real quick. Apologize. Oh, the nature of the beast. When Hildebeest rolls in, hi Hildebeest and all of your viewers, thank you so much for being here. We are talking to Tama, and we are just having a general conversation, getting to know one another. It's from FaunaofFlora. So awesome D&D game host and dungeon master. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And sounds like a really awesome trans activist as well. So very happy to have that here as well. For those that don't know me, I am Jason Society, Jason_Society here on Twitch, and I talk a lot about politics and cannabis, and host StonerCast Bites, which you guys are now tuning into, which is a one-on-one conversation with another streamer about whatever topics come up. And then on Sundays, I do StonerCast at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, and that's where I have a group, a panel of streamers, and we all get together and get high and talk about weird shit. Usually stuff about cannabis. So for those that are just coming in, thank you very much. I want to thank you guys for the follow as well, 410K and Lelate. Also good to see you as well, Skidded Deer. Thank you so much for your patience with that. Where were we now?
We were talking about psychedelic experiences.
Right. Yeah, I my high school period, and shortly thereafter, I played music. I played music for like 15 years of my life. Actually playing out shows and doing the thing, and having the merch and selling CDs. Yes, I'm that old. I sold CDs, guys. I sold CDs. I didn't have a QR code. The closest we came to that is we did for a while. We were selling our music on thumb drives. We got really cool thumb drives that had like our logo printed on them.
That is so badass.
Yeah. So there was a company that was doing it, and it was like cheaper than getting CDs made. And I was like, "Fuck yeah, we're doing that!" Like, are you kidding me? Because at that time, we were finally at the point where people had the USB connectors for their cars, where they could like put in like a USB drive and it'd play music off of it. So it was
God, I remember those.
Yeah.
When they were like just new.
Yeah. So that's like that was what we were doing. But I did a lot of psychedelics. They used to call me Orbit in high school because they said I was always in orbit somewhere like out in the clouds. So.
If you're interested in psychedelic experiences, by the way, my plurality, although I was not on any like substances for it, during it, like the moment when it sort of started to develop was like super fucking weird.
Oh yeah.
Unironically, one of the things that made me a better storyteller was trying to like put words to this experience. People don't necessarily realize this. One of the similarities, one of the things that you quickly learn about art, whether you're actually drawing things or telling a story, the words to describe an experience in the same way as the brushstrokes do not come intuitively. Even if you've experienced it or even if you've seen it, you have to like know. Often you learn from how other people paint things or how other people tell stories, and you sort of imitate that and work from there.
Yeah, I could see that. You know, what's the old saying? You know, art imitates life, imitates art. You know, I think there is definitely some truth to that. We see that all the time. I mean, I used to have an artist friend that told me all the time. He was a painter, really good painter, also my guitarist in my band, and he used to tell me all the time, "There's no original idea. Every idea came from somewhere." You know.
Oh
Uh,
God, unless you see that one. Have you ever seen OI from Alter?
I haven't. I haven't.
Oh, there's this there's this YouTube channel that kind of it's trying to say the same thing just in a much crazier way.
Hmm.
Um, there's this film on Alter called OI. They're short, by the way. They're like 10 to 20 minutes or something.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and what basically happens is this person has an original idea, but the problem is every time he tells it to people, their head explodes because they can't handle it. And like they eventually reason that it's because people need something to like map an experience onto, and only certain like absolute flukes are capable of like handling the original idea because it's just too different.
That's crazy. Like, I would be really interested in seeing that. Definitely link that to me because I'd like to check it out myself. That sounds awesome. Oh, it looks like even Overlord Clay has even been on there as well. You're
Yeah.
saying that's a really cool site. That's cool. I like that. But yeah, you know, that's kind of like what his view on it was, and really, we're always providing people through our art or our creations our interpretation of the world as we've already seen it, right? You know, um, and that can manifest itself in all sorts of different ways.
I'm gonna upload that thing. When I started having plural experiences, um that was like that was like my first exposure to something like genuinely psychedelic that I had. Um are you familiar with the term endogenic plural?
No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
Uh some there are two types of plurals, endogenic and traumagenic. Endogenic plurality is when your plurality develops normally,
Okay.
like not normally, naturally. Um, with traumagenics, though, it happens as a way to deal with a form of trauma.
Got it. Okay. So the trauma basically triggers a split. Would that be a way to kind of put it?
Yeah, that's how most people tend to.
Okay.
For me, I had this weird dream where I was just like, it's so hard to explain what it would be like to have like a world without anything except like some semblance of ground that you could walk on. It was
Wow.
like incredibly weird. And I was just overwhelmed by like, if you ever heard of prairie madness,
I've heard of that. Isn't that like due to like being left alone for long periods of time, like with nobody else around, like an isolation
that's cabin
based kind of
fever.
thing? Oh, okay.
Prairie madness is sort of not agoraphobia, but like the fear of like wide open areas. And when
Oh,
you
okay.
would live on the prairie, you would see like this wide stretch of just like nothing, and some people like were driven crazy by it. Like it legitimately had mental health effects.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's new to me. So that's something that you've had to experience, or you have been experiencing.
Not necessarily. It's just what I experienced while I was there.
Oh,
And
okay, just
like,
at that point. Okay.
yeah. And then then the person who I talked, one of my headmates now, came along and I just talked to her and she led me to this massive forest. And that's like where my name comes from. Cause I didn't want to call it the forest because that sounded like a really dumb name. So I tried to figure out anything I could before that started to catch on.
Mm-hmm.
And I called it Flora
I like it.
because it was like a giant, like super forest with all these weird, crazy plants and stuff. Um, so we're the fauna, the animals of Flora.
Right. That makes
And that's
sense.
the pun to the name.
I love it. I love it. I like it a lot. I was sitting there, I was like, there's something more to this name. This isn't just something that they picked out at random. Like there's a story to this. So I figured
Yeah,
as much. Yeah. That's
we're
awesome
the
though.
we're the Floran system specifically. So the members of Flora, because that's what we call it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I gained more, so I'm gonna butcher this experience because it's not easy to describe.
Sure.
Um, so I kind of not me, but someone I call Primy had this split, and I have a lot of her memories, but there's a lot of Primy that I don't have. I feel like a different person, but who experience the same things, if that makes sense.
No, yeah,
And
I can understand what you're referring to there. Yeah, go ahead.
at one point, Primy had a traumatic split, and I was one of two that was born from that. But otherwise, all my system members are endogenic, so I have the unique experience of being simultaneously an endogenic and traumagenic plural
Oh
because of the
wow.
way that it developed.
So the trauma kind of initiated it, but then the subsequent splitting was just as a result of the natural course of things. Would that be fair to say?
Well, no, everything was like normal, and then like everything developed more naturally. But then at some point, a traumatic event happened, and then that particular split was traumagenic.
I got it. Okay, okay. So just that specific split. Interesting. See,
Yeah,
these are things I have like I'm learning. I apologize that I don't know more about this, but I'm learning so much right now. So if I'm asking a lot of questions, that's why I'm just trying to absorb and.
I absolutely love it. I engage in teaching people because it's one of my passions in life. Just getting to like talk about my experiences, especially because like talking about it was one of the ways that I sort of just I'm really, really blessed in that like talking more about my transness or my plurality or my autism has been kind of how I've processed and dealt with it myself. So I have a really good experience in general talking about all of these particular things, which means that like whereas it might annoy other people to have their like existence questioned, I'm actually really good at having those conversations.
Yeah, good, good. I'm glad that somebody is willing to have that. I know sometimes like people can be a little cruel, and the questions they ask and things like that. I really try to make sure I'm being fair to you. And if there's ever anything I ask that you're like, I don't want to talk about, that's fine too. So don't be
Sure,
afraid to
absolutely.
don't be afraid to tell me to shut the fuck
Yeah,
up. But I really try
sure.
to like just create a culture where you can feel comfortable and like saying what you got to say, and try not to overstep. So, but if there's anything that I ask or anything that does, let me know.
Absolutely. I have no problems asserting a boundary if that ever comes up. I've had these conversations a few times and usually I'm pretty comfortable seeing if something goes too far.
Sure, sure. So now it looks like you're in a relationship, your partner's here in chat, really encouraging you and boosting you on, which I absolutely love.
Oh my god, Emmy is such an adorable person, and she's going to get so flustered that I'm saying this in front of so many people, and I'm just imagining it and enjoying it.
Oh boy. Uh-oh.
There it is.
I love it. I love it. You know what? Like seeing people in love that talk to that are like bantering with each other. It's like one of my favorite things ever. There's another couple that both of them separately have been on StonerCast, and they're always like, whoever I have on, the partner is always in chat, and the banter is so cute, and I freaking love that, like that love communication. You know, the like when people talk like that. I fucking love it. It's awesome. It's like all the good positivity. It's like, let's go.
Oh god, she's so unused to positivity too, so she just gets so embarrassed whenever I say nice things to her. Even if so like she helped me find a particular headset, and I'm like constantly amazed at how well this headset works. So I was like testing it to see like what doesn't it pick up and other things like that, and I would constantly comment on like the results and findings and how much I enjoyed it, and she got so flustered and was like glowing, and it was glorious.
I love doing that too. Like, unfortunately, I'm recently out of a relationship, but my last really good relationship I was in, I used to do that all the time because she didn't like being complimented at all. She definitely didn't like being complimented in public, you know, because she just was kind of that way. It made her like more self-conscious or whatever. But I would just like go in and be like, "You are so awesome," and tell people like really loud. We used to play the embarrassing game, and I would straight up like go in the middle of the store. We'd be walking through the grocery store, and I'd just be like, "I love you," and like just like open my arms up real wide, like give her a big old hug, and she's like, "Stop." Just stop.
Oh god. I will always beat Emmy at that game. Like when we were together, we had these plushies, and I was just like booping her with her plushie. It was adorable. She got so flustered. I made her. So we had a thing where people can redeem for like, it's only 1,000 points now. It's probably going to be later, more later, but you can get one of the players to say basically anything, and we were waiting on one of our players, so I couldn't start the game without. So I just got everyone. So I got her specifically to read this wonderful list of self-affirmations that I wrote for her as my particular redeem, and then I gave everyone else copy pastas. And we were just spending like an entire like hour just like having a shit fit giggling.
That is so awesome. That is so awesome.
I made them do accents too. I even read some of them to like so the bit with me is that I am very difficult to like actually embarrass. So I could just straight up say the cringiest shit without like without like hesitation or anything.
That is so awesome. I love that. Like I get to that point sometimes. I'll just say some fucked up shit and be like, "Oh, well, it's out there now." Not anything, you know, super offensive. Well, it would be offensive to very puritanical people. I'll put it that way. You know?
Yeah, I used to be that. I was raised I was actually raised in a cult, and one of the things that particular got me into like de-radicalizing others is like I had this friend, and like she was the fucking unicorn of, or is the unicorn of friends. Like you could say anything to her and she would and she'll still stick around. She's like absolutely amazing. Um, and it really helped because I said some pretty yikes shit when she was trying to de-radicalize me from the cult.
Oh yeah.
And because like I had bounced around from a few different ones before we finally got to this point, because I realize now that I'm very susceptible to like um, cult-like thinking or accelerationist thinking or like a lot of really unhealthy habits, which is why I try to be very careful not to engage with certain spaces because I just cannot. Um, but like I said like the nastiest shit to her, stuff that I am not comfortable repeating. And she just stood around for like all of it. Anytime that I like remember those the days where I was just like tearing into her sometimes because in a way she was taking my ability to believe in something that I was that I had a really toxic relationship with.
Hmm.
Um, so I cannot think about those days without like actually crying. She means so much to me. Like
It's
the fact that she just dealt with all of that and just took all of my shit. I want to be the same kind of person to other people.
That's cool. That's very admirable. And yeah, having your whole belief system kind of turned on its head because, obviously somebody's trying to help you out of a really bad situation. I'm sure that's really daunting. There's because, shit, I grew up in a really conservative home, that was super religious, but it was not a cult. Oh, shit. Sorry,
Oh
I'm getting
wow.
another raid. Thank you
Yeah, I
guys so
see
much for
that.
coming in. Freems, thank you very much for the raid in. I appreciate you guys coming in. I am talking with Tama of Fauna and FaunaofFlora. We're just talking about all things life. She's helping me to get a better understanding of where she comes from. I'm kind of talking about where I come from. For those that haven't been in before, my name is Jason Society. I am a cannabis and politics streamer from the left. And I also host a show called StonerCast every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm sorry, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, where I talk about all things cannabis with some of your favorite streamers, including the one that just rated you in, Frames, who's been on our show a few times. We are so happy to have you in with us, and I hope that you enjoy the content that we're doing now, which is a new program that we're starting called StonerCast Bites, and it's one-on-one conversations with guests just to learn more about them and get some new insights. So I thank you guys very much. Right now we are talking again with Tama, and we're just talking about kind of the experience of hosts with how would you describe it, Tama?
Well, I'm talking about my experiences with radicalization and with plurality.
Yeah, there we go.
Uh,
I was
but
looking
also
for
would
the
now
proper
be a
words.
good time to also try to plug our stream.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I am Tama, FaunaofFlora. I have a great D&D stream with one of my partners, Dragon Foxing, over on twitch.tv/Dragon Foxing. She's an amazing person who is trying to become a streamer and a coder as well. If you love D&D content, or even if you just want to see a wonderful stream, we are an all LGBT stream with many plural and autistic members um, who come to meet every Friday and Sunday on 8 p.m. at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we would love to have you. We're very fun and interactive and try to engage a great deal with chat, even if Dungeons and Dragons is very immersive. So we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, definitely
I could
check them out.
I
I'm
drop
actually
the
going to check
link.
it out. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, and we can do a shout out too. So it's on your partner's channel that you guys air that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I cannot stream yet. When I do stream, I want to basically talk about news, media. Um, One of the goals of D&D in general is to challenge the assertions that people make, to see the good in an otherwise evil character, to see the fact that sometimes evil people are allies who want the same thing temporarily as us, even if we don't want everything that they want.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's all very valid. I think it's very valid. You know, extremism can do funny things to people. You know, it one of the things it does mostly that I see is I'm going to say this. I'm going to be a little crass when I say this, but I think a lot of times, like, people get into a space where they just want to shit on their allies. You know, through the means of like purity tests and things like that. You know, and it's like, if you got people that are trying to help you, maybe they're not helping you all the way to where you want to be, but they're helping you 30% of the way to where you want to be. Are you going to knock taking the help for the 30%, or are you going to take the 30% and say, hey, you know, that's progress, baby? You know, for me, I'm going to take the 30% and say that's progress, and we can continue to move from there. You know, so
Yeah.
I do agree with that. You know, because it causes you to shut down communication. You know,
Yeah,
and
I don't know if you've ever seen Beau of the Fifth Column. He had a great way to analogize this, where we're on this bus that's trying to head leftwards, and some of us want to get off in an early stop. Some of us just want to be like liberals. Some of us want to be more social liberals. Some of us want to go full on socialism. Some of us want to ride that bus till we get to anarchy. Um, and the goal is to recognize that you want as many people on that bus to keep that you want as many people on that bus advocating for your side, even if they're not always going to be your allies.
true, yeah, 100, 100. Take as much of the allyship as you can get, and you know, the thing is, and that's the other thing. I think that once you're able to get people to kind of see that, hey, you know, a lot of us, we really do agree on quite a bit. Maybe not everything. I think I said this earlier too. I think it's easier to like hedge them into like going a little bit further once you get them to one place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, that analogy is great. Summer Smile is just saying that in chat, and thank you for the first time chat as well, Summer Smile. That's awesome. But yeah, I would say that bus analogy is freaking perfect. That is a perfect way to analogize that.
Oh
I couldn't
God,
have said it better myself.
if you're into content from an anarchist, you should absolutely check out Beau of the Fifth Column. He has a great YouTube channel. He is probably one of the activists that I respect the most. Because whereas he's like a hardline anarchist, um, he doesn't talk about his politics. So you kind of have to like read between the lines of what he actually believes.
Yeah,
Um, well, he's a hardline anarchist. He is willing to like support even groups like the Democrats as long as it's pushing the Overton window left.
right, right. Yeah, and you know what? I have seen Bo. I watch quite a bit of Bo's content, but I have not heard that analogy from him because I just started watching probably about 4 or 5 months ago, and it's, you know, it's been spotty. I haven't seen all of his videos, but really do like his content, and I appreciate what he has to say. It's usually right on the money. I'm like, you're speaking to me, man. Like, it's like,
Oh yeah.
and I like his approach too. His approach is so um it just seems like it's a real person talking to you, not somebody, you know, putting themselves on a high horse or anything like that. It's like talking to your buddy in the garage, which I think is kind of why he likes doing his stuff there, because it
Oh
is
God.
makes it very relatable, you know.
Have you paid attention to how his background changes?
I haven't, but people have told me some things about his hats. Like, he does some things with his
So,
hats.
oh yeah, always pay attention. If the Curious George sticker is on upside down, it's going to be a sarcastic video. You might have also noticed there was a coat hanger in the last video after Roe versus Wade got overturned, and this is in his workshop. We can only imagine what a coat hanger might refer to.
Right. Oh no, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Holy crap! I gotta go back and watch them now. Like, oh my goodness. Like, maybe that'll be content for later, guys.
It's very rarely accidental, just it's kind of like deep lore. I
Uh,
remember that like during the shenanigans a few years ago, he adopted a pumpkin.
oh, nice.
Um, um you're familiar with that, I hope.
So I'm taking it the analogy has something to do with uh, family planning.
No, a few years ago, uh, some there used to, I cannot for the life of me remember why, um, but some bigoted person, I think that he was one of the Westboro Baptists or something like that, or one of those. Fuck, there was this one Baptist organization besides them that was like growing in like a hate movement. Um, and the symbol of opposition to them became a pumpkin because they attacked some kind of like um, pro LGBT person. So like people for a while, like a few years ago, who had the pumpkin in their Twitter name,
Mm-hmm.
where it was a pro LGBT dog whistle.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. I didn't.
Yeah,
I totally missed that one, and I know all about Westboro Baptist Church. They're fucking dirtbags, but
I
that may be
I love
beside the point.
studying extremism. One of the things my past has also made me really, really lucky about um, is one of the things my past has really made me lucky about was I have been like exposed to some really dark shit throughout my life, and that's a journey in and of itself. But I think it kind of makes me better able to like engage with some of the dark shit that other people have. I've had like a lot of training dealing with like the traumatic shit that other people go through,
Mm-hmm.
talking about how hypervigilance affects us, and a bunch of other subjects. Um, one particular strategy that I was trying earlier with someone that I was trying to talk to. This is a really, really good technique if you ever want to talk to someone who's like suicidal and it's like if a close friend is suicidal and you know them well enough. Are you familiar with preempting criticism?
No, let's go. Tell me more. Tell me
Okay.
more.
So I learned this back in high school um, as a debate tactic. And if you know who you're going to debate, or if you know the weaknesses of your arguments, you can respond to them in such a way as to take away from your opponent's argument. So,
So I want to break this down in a really funny analogy. It's kind of like Eminem when he battle raps, where he self-deprecates in order to take away the tools that the other person would have to essentially like battle him in the battle rap. You know, he's already gone through all the things they could possibly say negative about him, you know, or his ideas or whatever, and through that it disarms them. They no longer have a talking point because you stole it from him.
oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Like one of the things, if you've ever talked to a person who's been like repeatedly suicidal, so it's not like their first runabout. One of the things you want to say is, I know that you probably hear it gets better. I know that you're probably very adverse to hearing that it gets better, but I know that in my particular case, it really did when I thought that it wasn't going to ever be able to. Um, so it feels like you just acknowledged that like it's such a stupid thing to say. Why would anyone actually say or believe it? Blah blah blah.
mhm.
But in reality, you just kind of like bit the bullet, but still said it as a legitimate thing. In a similar way, you can talk about and then downplay all the weaknesses of any argument that you make. Um, in such a way where even if they are actual big weaknesses, you can make them seem unsubstantial. Um, it's sort of a poisoning the well thing.
Got it. Okay.
Um, yeah, it is super useful. So like you could just run down all of the arguments that someone is likely to give against anything you've said, and it feels like you've acknowledged all of those things and have actually heard them, but it also makes them feel like they're very small things. Um, you can also um, you can also disagree with the premise depending on how someone's engaging with you. Um, this is like a super crazy debate tactic. If someone's dead set on agreeing with you, you can work them into your position by um, telling them something that actually telling them you're against something that actually supports your position.
Mhm.
Um, then they work themselves into that position. You concede the point. It's sort of like the
Yeah.
rabbit season, duck season.
Yeah, yeah. I feel you on that. Yeah, it makes sense. By you're disarming some of the parts of their argument that make it easy for them to make their wins, and then you're able to turn it and say, listen, like, I know that you're going to say this. I know that, hey, I don't like this part either, but guess what? We also can get X, right?
Exactly. It is such a useful technique, and it also it makes you more relatable to the other person when you're already acknowledging or basically it has all of the echoes of steelmanning someone else's argument without you having to actually take down the steelman.
Right. And go down the whole gambit of things. You can do it
Yeah.
much quicker. I like that. And being somebody that likes to get in there and debate with people, like, hey, I can always use some pointers because I'm not perfect at it. But I definitely like
If
getting
you're
in there
ever
and mixing it
interested,
up with
yeah.
people. Yeah, for sure.
Like
Um,
I love teaching people about debate. One of the things I know that a few particular streamers have said this. I really want to see way better conversations when it comes to debate. So like a few streamers have asked me because I've given them um like my opinions on debates that they've been in, uh
mhm.
what what I think they could have done better or should do next time. And I basically give like debate advice or reviews. And I do this for free because I just generally really want to see people having better conversations that like where they're connecting.
I love that, and I actually want to as well. I've had some pretty contentious conversations, like recently, with more than one like bigger streamer, and I would have liked them to go better. I really don't like being in contention with people. I don't like yelling and having it out like that. I like to have like rational, normal conversations. And
Oh God, I saw that
people
whole
love to
thing
try
by
to
the
get me
way.
escalate. Yeah, that one wasn't.
I
I wasn't too
I'm
happy
gonna
about
be real
that.
with you. I think both of you actually agree on more than like you understand, but because of like but she has this habit. I don't want to demonize her because I know that she gets like an incredible amount of shit usually. But I think that she actually believes the same thing that you and the other person believes. But the problem is that like she was so prepared going into that conversation if you watch it, to just be absolutely lambasted that she was afraid to concede any one point.
Hmm.
Um, and there's this thing called checking the temperature, where you try to like bond on something that both of you can agree on. Maybe you might talk about movies that you might have liked. Being
Hmm.
able to do that halfway through a conversation or at the beginning of a conversation or start with some affirmatives, something that you like about their platform, can really put someone off guard when they're doing that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and that, like I was trying to like fucking ease the tension because I could feel it right when I walked in, or right when I called in. I was like, shit, she's
yeah,
ready,
I felt
and I was
that.
like, fuck, and that's why I was like, hey, listen, I want you to know I'm not here to like do all this, and
So
then you
it's one
know,
of the reasons I feel so bad for her because she's so used to like having people like I don't want to give names, but there are some people that I've seen make incredibly uncharitable um accusations against her, and like she's always expecting that that like anyone who's saying that her platforming issues are like not super great, and she should stop. Like some people take that criticism way too far and don't defend it in any way.
Hmm.
So she probably just sees that like everyone who's going to make that accusation is going to make the same accusation. And just like one of the things that you um having a part at the beginning of the conversation where you try to like humanize her, or a point in the conversation where you recognize um that that's what's happening, or try to like reset the tone, or say um that is just so much better. Like I saw when that one guy, the one that you were defending,
Hmm.
went into the conversation, like I really think that he went into the conversation super good faith, and I don't like the shit that he ended up getting. But
Yeah.
I also don't know his history, so I can't say much on that.
Yeah, he just I think they've had some rounds before, so I knew that when they were going to go back at it, there was going to be contention because
Yeah.
they've had it before. So I was like, yeah, that's not going to be great. But yeah, I mean, I think he tried to do his like the best he could to be good faith. And I like EC. He's been on StonerCast quite a few times, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I
Um,
really he looks really respectable, and I it's sad that like I think that his work as a bouncer is pretty good praxis for like the whole anti-fascism thing.
mhm.
But I do think that one thing that we have to get better at recognizing is that we need to get more used to the fact that we're going to have to talk to these people. Like, as much as we want to just guillotine meme, a lot of these people, and I speak from experience because, like, I was so close to being radicalized to that extreme, to a bunch of people who would have like taught me to hate being trans.
Mhm.
And I think that we need to be capable of talking to them, and like even if even if those conversations aren't going to convince them, I think
Mhm.
the most powerful thing that we really can do is make people like Spencer or Fuentes look irrational,
Yeah.
because like the image that they want to present is them either being the cool guy or being like a businessman, someone that you can trust. They're actually the rational one in
Mhm.
like the talking point that they have, that like everything is a clown world, but they're the bastion of sanity.
Right.
um and the truth is, you want them to like slip, you want them to be a bit spicy. You want them to reveal that like, no, it's not just about us, about everyone having their own little ethno state. It's he just actually hates these people, finds them disgusting, and wants them out of the country. Like that's the only reason that he's using certain spicy words that Twitch wouldn't like.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you're hitting the nail on the head with that. And yeah, like one of the things I don't talk about much, I don't like the platforming. I don't think like I would talk to them on stream. However, like if there were people who I felt were radicalized that I could move, I would have the conversation offline with them all day. I'll definitely talk to people that are in that space and, get to know and understand their perspective and try to like move them. My whole thing has always been like, I just don't want to like get them out in front of viewers, because if say I don't happen to do a good job in that debate, maybe I had a bad day, maybe I didn't think about something ahead of time that they might, throw in there. My fear is that I end up making them look good, and somebody says, "Oh, that guy's not that bad," and then I've just helped to do the opposite of what I wanted to do. So I think
It's a
I
bit
think
of a
just being
yeah.
very careful about it, like maybe if you're gonna do the platforming, and otherwise, having those, because like I grew up in the punk and metal scene, and Lord knows I saw and had to deal with a shit ton of Nazis all the time, even playing music. There were bars that I watched kick out Nazis all the time because they'd come in there and try to like set up shop, and it'd be one guy come in, and he'd just be sitting there, seemed like the nicest guy in the room, and then you'd start noticing he's wearing some Nazi regalia. Well, the next time fucking dude comes in, he's coming in with two of his buddies because the bartender let, him in the first time. And then
Oh God.
within a
The way that
week,
Nazis are attracted to punk music will never cease to amaze me because it's like, dude, you realize the people who made that music hate you.
yeah, Nazi punks fuck off. You know, I mean, come on, dead Kennedys, let's go. You know, like
Exactly. Or oh, if only we had conservative punk rock music. Just oh God, I've seen those comments. Yeah, I after you contacted me, I did a bit of a deep dive, and yeah, you're someone that I deeply respect. Looking through your posting history, what you've defended, what you've shown interest in, what you're trying to do to help people, um, I really respect that.
I really appreciate that. And actually, that's the reason that I don't have like a debate panel is because I feel like there's a lot of that in this space. And there's not a lot of space where people can come together and like enjoy each other's company, you know, and get to know each other, you know. And that's what StonerCast is all about. That's why I do that because I want people to come in. And I know I could probably get like more viewers if I had a bunch of blood sports going on and shit like that. But I feel like it's not. There needs to be a space where people can let off steam and not be in that mindset, you know, where they can let their guard down and be humans for a second, you know, like we don't have to be at each other's throats all the time. And
Honestly,
oh, go ahead.
I want to have a if I ever do panels, I want to do panels to some extent or like small conversations, but like I don't want to have like a debate focus. I want to focus on talking about ideas. I don't like there's this one person I know, she's an incredible debate lord or a
Mm-hmm.
debate lady.
Lourdes.
And yes, lordess, debate lordess. Um She is like absolutely insufferable. I would never talk to her. Just because like she can make a debate out of anything and she will just never meet you on like doesn't try to find common ground and it's like my biggest problem with debate is how difficult it is to find common ground with people. Like, even when I was talking to the anti-abortion activist,
Mm-hmm.
who ended up calling me a Nazi, like, uh, the thing I tried to do before that was, it seems like this is your position. This is kind of why I disagree with it. And he said, "Oh, well, this thing that you're this concept of personhood was like used to demonize black people and like you're one of the people who would have been the slavers and it's like
You're like,
I mean
wait, hold on.
yeah
Let's back up here a little bit. Let's reel this
yeah
in.
like slow the roll like unironically this sounds so crazy to actually have to say but like um there is no problem with like if hypothetically you had like enslaved automatons that would be like robots but the whole reason that slavery was wrong was because that wasn't the case like if hypothetically you just had a bunch of robots that had no conscious experience whatsoever, there wouldn't be any problem like making them do whatever job. But like the whole reason slavery was wrong wasn't the concept of like unpaid labor. It was the concept of these are people with like actual experiences, thoughts, feelings, etc. And you need to like treat them better and you need to be like remunerating them whenever they are or compensating them for their labor. Like
Yeah,
but like we didn't get into that because like I just couldn't handle like that was the point where I just had to like back out of the conversation because like I don't think I'm ever gonna convince an evangelical that like all of that and I do try to recognize that I'm not going to be able to. Like one of the things I think is a real virtue and why I would love to have these conversations. I'm very comfortable just leaving a conversation if I feel like it's going remarkably unproductive or I'm going to like enable the worst like the things that I fear. Like there are all
mm-hmm.
kinds of debates that I've gotten into that I've had to back out of. Um, because I realize I'm looking so bad or in the debate or I'm like on the verge of looking bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like reschedule.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly like what happened with me in this last thing. I was like, you know what? ad homs are coming out. We're already yelling at each other. There's been a total communication breakdown. There's nothing else that at this point that I'm going to be able to get out that's going to provide any, that's going to turn this around. That's kind of how I felt about it. And I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
So be it. I'd rather hop out, when the ad homs start and just be like, save it for another day, than stay in there and keep fighting that out, because it's just going to drag us both down, and there's nothing
If
productive
she's
that's
ever
going
going
to
to
come of
have
it.
that conversation, it's going to have to be through a friend or be with some kind of friend mediating.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And that's okay. People aren't always ready for that. And, it sounds like she was kind of on tilt anyways. Again, like, that's the thing, like, with a lot of this stuff, like, I get upset in the moment, and then after the fact, I'm just kind of like, well, whatever, somebody had a bad day. Like,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lose sleep over it, outside of if somebody's trying to paint me in a bad light, or make cast aspersions upon me that are completely inaccurate and untrue, and actually can affect, like, my job or my situation with my kid. And so, like, even more recently, like, as things kind of progress with that, the only reason I even said anything further was because of the title of her video, because
Yeah,
that puts
that
my
was
job
like,
and my kid at risk,
yikes.
Yeah.
She's a mental health activist too. Like, leftists, please stop demonizing like alcohol use or substance use. We like God, I remember what the leftist movement was like 8 years ago or so. Um, we were so much better at not being as ableist or not being as sexist. Like, there was all this wonderful theory about intersectionality, and like there's so many leftists who just are not intersectional at all, or like the
Hmm.
moment they get heated, out they will make the worst attacks imaginable about you. Like,
Hmm.
one of my leftist friends just straight up called me delusional and said I had to be delusional because I have like DID, and it's like, why are we stigmatizing mental health?
Yeah.
Most
Thanks a
trans
lot.
people, yeah, it's like most trans people have some flavor of DID, the level of dissociation that we experience. Like, it's not full on plurality, but like we do experience we do have like a dissociation when it comes to our identity. Um, like, that's so interwoven with transness that it's very hard to separate the two. And it's
Sure.
like, this is not the thing that you want to be demonizing as a trans person, but it's like any shot they can get at you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, the mask comes off, right? The mask comes off. That's what's happening.
Yeah, and I've been really big. Like, I've got people that I'm trying to be somewhat nice to, but like the moment that they start going after people with DID, I'm like, why is this the insult that you're going for? Insult their positions. You clearly disagree with them, but like none of the insults are on your actual disagreement. Like, do you just want to be shitty to them, or do you want to have an actual discussion, or do you want to convince people away? Like, why do you aim so low?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that's, again, that's what threw me off about that last one, because it was like, hey, uh, uh, you're an alcoholic. And then, like, I was trying to continue the conversation. And then it was, well, at least I don't drink alcohol. And I'm like, but that's a non sequitur and an ad hom. Like, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
One of the best ways, one of the ways, I know that I don't know how familiar you are with her content, but a better way to phrase that would have been, what are you signaling to your audience when your key criticism of me um is drinking? How does this help your mental health advocacy to call someone an alcoholic when that often just makes the issue worse?
That's really good thing to point out. Like, I did not think of that at the time, trying to
Oh, for
think on my
sure. And
feet,
I don't
like, I
blame
was
you for
sitting there
not
like,
thinking
fuck.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Um,
that would have been a great retort for that. I knew that she had some care about mental health, and she is really passionate about women's rights and stuff like that. Because I've been in her stream. I was actually a subscriber to her for a long time when I first started. So I did watch her content quite a bit. And I haven't watched in a while, and I guess, some of those things escape you, and I'm like, shit, man. Like, I should have gone back, but shoulda,
It's
coulda, woulda now.
frustrating because like there's so many major streamers. I know one in particular that I'm sure that you would love to criticize. That all I'll say about them is Omni.
Hmm.
And there's so many streamers who don't want to admit that they, to some extent, have like trauma or just like really, really negative, overwhelmingly negative responses
Hmm.
um, to certain stimuli, and they do not seek like any kind of therapy for it for at all. Although the counter to this is, and this is something I wish people talked about more. Dr. K tried to, but like there's no way a streamer can actually get therapy. There's so many issues with it. Like as a psychologist, you just cannot, you can't engage with certain mediums sometimes because you never know when you're going to like end up with such a patient, and you have like imagine being one of the subscribers for a particular streamer and being their therapist. It would just be like nightmarish. Um, and like most therapists are going to actually just recommend that like streaming is one of the worst things that you can do imaginable to yourself. Like it's such a self-flagellating job. Like unironically, you're better being a burger flipper at McDonald's, because like the level of harassment you'll get is way less.
Yeah, yeah.
But
It's
the money is nice at the upper level, though.
oh yeah. I mean, I can relate. Like I said, having played music for a long time, you get shit on a lot. Like I've had beer bottles thrown at me on stage. I've been booed off stage. I've had all the things. I've been cheered. Like from one swing to the other. And so that's the one thing I am at least familiar with, that kind of rejection and emotional and mental abuse, because I've had to
Yeah.
deal with it for a long time. But I'm not saying that's a good thing to want to deal with, and nobody should just accept the abuse part of it. But
I really respect
yeah.
it, honestly. Like, it takes such an incredible commitment to artistry that you're willing to like endure all of these people like objectively hating you for trying to. Because like this is the thing. Even if you want to talk about people like him as much as he wants to pretend that he doesn't, in the end, if you are a streamer for more than a year or a musician or any kind of like artist or producing any kind of content, there's something that you want to put in the world. And like
Hmm.
the error that most streamers make is they won't admit this to themselves. Everyone thinks that they're above this, but like realistically, the reason that you always get upset when you're criticized as a streamer is because you want to add something to the world, that you want to add something to another person's life. You want them to experience something that you felt, and like streaming is how you share that experience. For me, making making Dungeons and Dragons content is how I share the experience of like um, some of the people I've met, or some of the things that I've seen, or some of the lessons that I've learned in life. And like, you have to recognize and be honest with yourself. The reason that you're in it is because you want to share an experience and connect to other people. When the person we were talking about, gets
Hmm.
criticized, her problem is that she wanted people to embrace better mental health. She probably does want to de-radicalize some people. She probably wants to teach people to treat each other better. And to some extent, criticism of her often probably feels like she doesn't, like she's not doing that, or like she's a traitor to the cause. And that's probably what puts her on edge, is that like there's it probably maps onto some internal feeling that she's not doing enough for the world, that she's not expressing herself well enough.
Hmm.
And I think that most of us have probably had some trauma where um, or maybe it's not as bad as trauma necessarily, where we're trying to express a thought or a feeling or an experience to other people, and they're not meeting it, and it really hurts us inside. And like once you realize that it's a failure to communicate between point A and point B, it allows you to change, like, because like then you start to realize it's not necessarily a critique of your content when someone doesn't get what you're trying to do, or when someone thinks that like maybe you might be making a mistake in how you go about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a criticism of you. um it's a criticism of like the character that's on the screen, and like how that person on screen might not map onto like the things that you're trying to put out there.
Right.
Like, to some extent we're all playing a character, and like detaching detaching that character from ourselves and being able to analyze that character's weaknesses and strength is
Mm-hmm.
what allows us to better engage with criticism.
Yeah, I agree with that. I actually make it a point, like, I have a producer that got me started in Twitch. I had no intention of coming on Twitch or doing any of this. And he spent 2 years deriding me, telling me, dude, why aren't you on Twitch? You need to be on Twitch. You talk about politics all the time. I see you on, because I was yelling at people on Facebook, doing that whole thing, and that is definitely a little bit further to the right venue to be having discussions in. And I was like pulling my hair out, and he's like, bro, you just need to go and like get in front of some people and have the conversations. And he's like, you spent 2 solid years trying to get me to do this shit. And finally I was like, all right, I'll do it. And I came on, but like, because I was so new to it, and because I'm still pretty new to it, I do rely a lot on his criticism, whether it's always constructive or not. May not be sometimes, but I rely on that because I know that I'm not going to get it right every time, and I know that he will give me the truth, the hard truth, no matter how much I like it or dislike it. And I appreciate that because I learn from that, and I'm just fortunate to have somebody that I trust that can do that for me. I think a lot of people, especially when you get bigger, like, you're getting it from all different directions, and you hope that your team is helping you to understand that, but sometimes even your team can become a little jaded and forget what they're there for, which is,
Yeah.
hey, help me course correct. If I'm doing it wrong, help me course correct. I don't need you to blow sunshine up my ass. I need you to be honest with me. You know what I mean?
That's kind of like that's the appeal I try to have with people. It is not a thing a lot of people can handle, but like, um, how I market myself is I am willing to give you the cold hard reality, and if that's something that you're not up for, if you think that my message is too rough, if you think I'm too abrasive, I'm sorry, because I'm just gonna tell you what I think at all times. Um, Chances are, if you don't like it, I'm not for you. I don't do this for you. You're not my intended audience. My intended audience is the people who've dealt with trauma so much in their life that they don't know what the fuck is real anymore. My intended audience is people who need someone who can give them the cold hard truth even when it's something that they don't like. Because like, if you've ever been a gaslighting victim, you don't know what's up, you don't know what's down, you don't know what's real, and you need people who can like act as your lifeline to this world. Because like, I used to think that I was jumping between realities because I was like I was a gaslighting victim, and
Yeah.
like every time my mom entered the room, everyone became such a different person as they like embraced a reality that otherwise they were completely willing to say did not exist.
Yeah.
And like, that is it really felt like I was like world hopping. It was such a surreal experience, and that's like literally what I thought. I thought that I was like some magical person who could just slide between different dimensions, and I couldn't control it. Like, they're literally how I saw that.
Yeah, you know what? I am too. I am very much a victim of gaslighting. I've definitely been through that. And God, you're preaching to the fucking choir right now, because God, they make you, they twist you up so much that you don't even believe your own words anymore. Like, you're like, no. What I'm thinking cannot possibly be true, They say it's
Right.
not, and it's like, fuck. Yes, I know it's oh god, it's so frustrating because it feels like you're getting pulled in two. Like, I know what reality is. I know what I fucking saw. Like, why are they telling me this shit, And you kind of keep
Yeah.
replaying it and you're like, ugh, no, 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 stop, But yeah, I've been through that and it is so frustrating, especially like if it's with a really hard-headed person like the person I was with. It was their reality. Like, it didn't fucking matter. It didn't matter like what was, if up was down in their world and down was up, that was it. And no matter what I said or how much I could prove otherwise, that's the way it was. So
Exactly. And like when I'm interacting with other people, like if you can't handle my version of events or what I think is real, um, chances are you're not that person that I'm trying to speak to. Because in general, the person I'm trying to speak to is the person who can't tell what's real anymore, who isn't sure if like other people are just lying to be nice to them, and like I'll always tell you what I think, for better or worse. And I think that like the people who respect that about me are like the only people I want to be around. Like
yeah.
I just there's so many people. I had this meme, and I cannot for the life of me find it, but it was so good. Um, I'm sorry that the mask I had to make for you didn't look quite right. Let me try to completely change my personality to be the right person. Oh, wait, my bad. Didn't mean to act like myself in front of you. My bad, bro. Let me get the personality I made just for you. There we go. Dang
So
me.
true. Oh, it's so true. That's so good. I love that. I love that. That's it's but yeah, I mean that's what you go through with these people, like the person I was with, definitely a narcissist as well, so you're contending with that. I mean, I kind of think gaslighting goes hand in hand with narcissism, though. It seems like they people with that tendency seem to also have the tendency to do gaslighting and do other things like that, misdirection and deflecting and things like that. And yeah, it's really a hard experience to go through, especially when like, this is harmful to me, right? This is harmful to me. I know that I'm being harmed, but I can't make this other person see that I'm being harmed because they are no longer existing in the reality I'm existing in. They've chosen not to.
Yeah. And it's
And
really hard because like there's a lot of stigma around like autism or around plurality where people like aren't even sure that that like you can tell what's real anymore. And like it's so hard. It's especially bad if you engage with people in politics, because I'm looking at this, sometimes I'll be looking at videos and it's like, well, why does this video's footage seem to start like right at the end, right in the middle of the instant? It feels like there should be way more before it. Like, is there something that they're trying to hide? And I want people to ask these kinds of questions, like, what narrative is someone trying to tell you?
right, yeah, exactly. What's their angle on it, right? Because there's an angle. They're trying to create a narrative, and yeah, I appreciate that about, because you were talking about that earlier about kind of seeing through the media madness to like what's really going on. And I do think that the one thing I will say, I don't care whether you're watching left wing or right wing media, especially if you're talking about mainstream television, you're getting slanted information. It's gonna happen because there are vested interests that pay through ad dollars to provide you that slanted information.
Oh God, yeah. I've been so ever since I got onto Twitter, I have really wanted to change my media diet, because now I'm actually talking about certain news. So like I'm trying to get my news from more credible sources, like Reuters or the Associated Press seem to be some of the best ones I've seen so far.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That is our time, and I appreciate you coming on. Would you like to shout yourself out again before we close out?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tama of the Florin system. Um, I do D&D content and eventually aspire to do political content. Currently, the D&D content is on twitch.tv/dragonfoxing. Political content probably not coming for several months.
There you have it. Yeah.
We have games every Friday and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard until uh, midnight. And we would love to see you there. We're very interactive. Most of the players absolutely love interacting with chat.
That is awesome, and we're gonna shout out. So I'll go ahead and shout out Dragon Foxing. I know that your partner is in chat, but we're gonna shout him out anyways.
Her.
Her, yes.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
all set. Yes. So we shouted them out, and yes, we look forward to that content. I am going to watch it because I have not seen D&D and like experienced it, like I said, since I was a very, very young kid. And I liked it when I was a kid. I remember like playing with back then it was the little pewter figurines and stuff that went along. I'm using the wrong terms. I know, hate me.
Yeah. Well, hey, some of the group is talking about how they can only how they won't be able to be doing it twice a week. So because we need to keep affiliate be streaming 8 times a month, we might do a whole new D&D game with a different setting.
Oh, cool. So if any of you guys are interested in that, you might want to like hit them up. Hey, I might even hit you up, but I don't know shit about it, so I'm going to be the total noob in the room.
I deal with newbies all the time. Most of my current players were newbies. I love teaching.
Cool. That's awesome. I love that. So you guys definitely check out. We put the link in for Dragon Foxing, and this is Tama of the Florin system, and you can see her on Dragon Foxing's channel for now doing D&D, and then in the next few months Tama is going to jump into the political realm. I'm probably going to talk to Tama offline a little bit to get some pointers on my debate skills, because I need some work. I know I
would
need some
absolutely
work.
love to. Also, could I ask you something for a friend?
Sure, absolutely.
So Bones of Doom was complaining that they got blocked by you. I think that you'd really enjoy them as a friend. They seem to be really nice, even if they're adversarial. It's usually only to the right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I know exactly who it is, and I know why that happened, but if they're cool, I'm gonna unblock them right now. How about that?
Thank you. I really, I'm hoping that he behaves. He's usually really good, though.
So is it, it's spelled correctly, right?
Bones of Doom TV.
Okay, Bones of Doom TV. Let's see. And, oh, I gotta go into this one just a second. I'll tell you when I got them unblocked. Been a while since I did this. I really don't block people very often. Just when like
I try to keep a clean block list, but like because of some of my political beliefs, people just are not fans of me, and like anyone who just immediately engages in bad faith gets the block. Like I will explain any position I have really well, but when people are just like, oh, you don't want to let people be themselves, and it's like, no, I want people to be themselves. I don't advocate against that. I just advocate against calling A B. Like, I just want us to engage accurately on any subject that we talk about. I'm trying not to be too specific on what that is, because I don't know who you want to be friends with.
Sure, no, that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
They are unblocked. If they want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to them. So all good there. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like, so it's totally, the climate of things, um, anytime you get in scrapes with like some of these bigger streamers, there's going to be people that, bleed over a little bit. So, I think that's probably what that was all about. But, if they're cool and they actually want to interact with me, I'm not going to deny them the opportunity to do that. So thank you. Thank you for enlightening me on that as well. And also, I want to thank you for, I feel like I gained an immense amount of knowledge in a very short amount of time with you. And I really do appreciate that. And thank you for being patient with me, for not knowing like a bunch of the different terminologies. It's always
absolutely
a learning curve,
love having conversations on these topics. They are my life, and it's just something I'm really passionate about.
See, that's great. And I would encourage other people to reach out and have similar conversations, because I really enjoyed this one. So thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me. Thank you for helping shout us out. You've been a wonderful interlocutor.
Thank you very much. We'll check you out. And, anytime that you want to come back, let me or Sen know, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Sometime if you're gonna be doing a panel on something interesting, Dragon Foxing absolutely loves to talk about things like coding and programming. And she's a very geeky little nerd and adorable person to be around.
Oh, get it in for her. I know she's blushing right now. So good, so
yes.
good.
I am her promoter.
Let's go.
I'm shilling for you, babe.
All the support here. And yeah, you guys, Dragon Foxing, make sure to check them out. Go follow them. Go follow FaunaofFlora. Follow both of them, so that you can get updated on what's happening in that world, and get to immerse yourself in some really intelligent conversation. So I hope you guys do that. All of my people that are in chat right now, if you have the opportunity, you can. It's free to follow somebody. Just go click the button. Click that follow button.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, have a good night.
Okay, you too.
Bye now.